two uninhabited Pacific islands.
One will be inhabited by 14 British men, while a separate island will be home to 14 British women.
Now, we all know how this is gonna turn out.
1, 2, 3, go!
Get in there, boys! Woo!
Actually wrapping up a dinosaur.
We just caught a prehistoric animal.
Fine.
This video is not meant to prove anything. I believe both genders have strengths and weaknesses, but let's be honest. If you're stuck on an island trying to survive, you know what? I'ma just show you right now.
Brim low on my fitted, dreams has always been vivid. I'm just trying to go get it, catch me right around and I'm ignorant, I'm just rolling.
I'm really trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by June. For those of you that have subscribed, I appreciate you, but I need you to do me one more favor. Drop my video in your group chat. Sharing it really helps the algorithm. And for you guys that bought my t-shirt,
you the real MVP.
And for you guys that haven't,
well, fuck you then, bitch.
So tell them get on my level, ho. I'm burning up, see I'm hotter than where the devil go. It ain't enough till I'm burning down.
Also, this video was remade. The original video is 40 minutes long and comes from a channel called Think Before You Sleep. Both groups are given equal supplies, and they both had 2 days of survival training. So they know they can't drink ocean water, and they know how to start a fire. So the first challenge of this island is to find a beach to set up camp. It's safer to be on a beach where you can see everything instead of being in the middle of the forest, where there's snakes and all types of other animals. Let's take a look.
It's 4 p.m. With only 2 hours of daylight remaining, the men's priority has to be finding a safe place to shelter for the night. Paul thinks the group's best option is a beach.
I personally want to just plough on and make it. I mean, it's going to get darker in here quicker than it is on the beach.
Paul pushes on, despite the group's growing descent.
I found the sea. Ah. Ah. Ha 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 ha.
So only a few hours on the island and the men have found a beach. However, the women make the first mistake and decide to split up.
So one group's going to go look and one group's going to stay here.
Who's in the go group?
Me.
Can I come?
Yeah. Have you got your whistles?
Yes, we're whistled up.
I can tell that these women watched way too much Scooby-Doo when they were kids. You never want to split up when you are in a dangerous situation. Even Bear Grylls says it's a bad idea.
Splitting up your group is a high-risk strategy.
So they split up to protect the fire they made on the first day, in the jungle. Now, that's silly because they should have just traveled with the fire or made a new one when they found the beach. Even some of the women thought this was a silly idea.
Hold on a minute. You think that
You can walk right round this island. We
In the
don't
water.
know anything.
I think this decision has been made a little too quickly.
But they split up anyways, multiple times.
More desperate than ever to get out of the jungle, the women are sending out another search party to find a beach camp. 7 women volunteer to join Fee on the trek, including furniture maker Kate. Abby, Fran and 3 others stay behind in their temporary camp to keep the vital fire alight.
I'm used to being in forests, and I'm not going to be really happy if people start telling me I'm going the wrong way. Yeah. The most important thing is that we go in a straight line. Now, honestly, I have no idea if this is right, but we've made a plan, so we've got to stick to it.
This is actually the opposite direction. We're going back towards the beach.
The expedition party are deep in the jungle interior and have mistakenly headed north in the wrong direction from their temporary camp. Now completely lost, they're doubling back on themselves.
So on day 3, the women finally find a beach. And now they have to find the other group. But of course they get lost. And instead of 1 trip to the beach, now they have to make 3. Oh, and one of the ladies fainted from dehydration.
Becky! I'm coming! Call the medics! She's gone! Fran's fainted!
Out at sea, my safety response team are assessing 24-year-old Fran. After 5 days without anywhere near enough water, Fran has succumbed to dehydration.
But the silly part is, it rained earlier that day. So why didn't she drink water then? This is the first of many times the show rescue team saves the woman. And guess what? The women are still lost.
Convinced they're close to camp, Georgie and Lauren go ahead to recce their surroundings.
We're just looking. We're back to where we are.
No f***ing way. Can't be.
We are.
The expedition party have spent all day in the searing heat, only to find they've walked in one big circle, back to Coconut Beach.
So the camp party decides to go search for the expedition party, and they do the one extremely obvious thing that the expedition party could have done, which was follow the coastline.
The women at camp are finally taking their fate into their own hands.
They haven't found us, so we've got no alternative but to find them, because we've stayed and we waited, I don't even know, 2 days, 3 days to be rescued. Now we have to just go and blow our whistles madly to see if anyone's hearing us, and that's what we're going to do, that's the plan.
Unaware of the expedition party's whereabouts, the 5 women are searching the coastline.
In a week, the men already have the whole camp set up on the beach. It takes the women a week, but they're finally all together on the beach. But in this time, the fire goes out, which was the only reason they split up in the first place. On the other hand, the men's fire never goes out throughout the whole 6 weeks. But the woman's fire goes out multiple times. And in one case, they can't boil water to drink. So here comes the show's rescue crew.
The women have now been without water for more than 48 hours, and they are dangerously dehydrated. Their situation is now beyond critical.
Medical advice is that the castaways are now so critically dehydrated that within a few hours, their lives will genuinely be in danger. So really, I've got no choice but to intervene. And the women will be given a working bow drill set.
So by week 2, almost all the girls die from dehydration. And critics believe there's multiple times the show obviously gave these women stuff.
There's a pig there.
Hello.
All they've eaten in a week are a few handfuls of yucca and coconut.
We've got 2 of the cutest little piglets here.
Their little tails wag like dogs, they're so cute.
Everything that moves on that island really should be seen as a potential source of food, and that includes the pigs.
Oh, you're so cute. Come here, Sage. Onion.
So they haven't eaten in a week, and this is what they're doing with the pigs.
They sleep with the pigs, they feed the pigs, they comb the pigs' hair, they turn them into pets and name them Sage and Onion. They pretty much do everything with the pigs except eat them.
They're hungry, and the beach they're on isn't working out. So they leave the beach and the pigs.
Bye, Sage. Bye, Onion. Look at us. We look like survivors.
The editor must have been laughing uncontrollably when he put the clip of them leaving the pigs, followed by one of them saying, "We look like survivors."
But they're so nice to the pigs that the pigs follow them.
The fate of Sage and Onion hangs in the balance. The women have befriended them and now can't agree whether or not to eat them.
I am hungry. But I don't think I could look into his little piggy eyes and then kill him.
At this point in the show, the men managed to capture a crocodile, while the woman couldn't eat pigs that were right there. Only 2 women had the guts to do it, and critics still think it was strange.
There. You see it?
Pig.
A hunting party led by Lauren has stumbled across a sleeping pig in the middle of the jungle.
People were saying that the pig was drugged, and that's why the women were able to catch it. But I have a different explanation for why it put up so little resistance.
It was because the pigs was dying and full of ticks. So what did they do with the pig?
To preserve the pig leftovers in one of their water canisters and bury it underground. This didn't work, and all the women got sick the next day from eating rotten meat, except for Jamie, the vegetarian.
So they throw the water canister away instead of cleaning it. This decision would have also led to all of the women dying.
With the preserved pork no longer edible, the women remove the pig's remains and jerrycan of putrid meat from the camp. Unconvinced they could salvage a rancid jerry can and use it to purify the water again, the women throw it away. Now with only one jerry can to produce all their water, the women are unknowingly heading towards a dehydration crisis.
Now the women are only able to collect half the water, and they destroyed their filtration system.
The women used one canister to filter the water and one canister to boil it. By the way, speaking of the men, they had a far more sophisticated water filtration system than the women did that resulted in cleaner water, and the men never seemed to have a problem with dehydration.
I don't want to drink the water. It tastes of poo. You drink it, then you go, and then you vomit.
Have you learned to hate drinking warm water?
Actually, it's good. It's really good. And
The sauce is
you don't have to kind of just knock it back. It's decent water.
Yeah.
The water was not an issue.
Yeah.
And actually, dehydration was your own fault rather than lack of water.
Yeah.
So the woman without water almost died.
Your bodies are just starting to fail at this point. Now, there's no easy way to say this. I'm teetering right on the brink of pulling you all off the island for medical reasons, over. The solution is use the other jerry can. I can't say it any other way.
He should have pulled them off for being stupid. So after the show's crew gives them advice, a random ship just gives them a free fish.
You have fish? One fish?
He's going to throw it!
Oh, you're very, very kind. Whoa!
Now, I think that is a...
Barracuda?
We caught a fish!
Yeah! Oh my God, it's massive!
Imagine being a man. Those boat guys probably wouldn't have even stopped. And
one of the big problems the women have is laziness. I think someone forgot to tell them that this is survival. You are supposed to work from the time the sun comes up until the sun goes down and you can't see anymore. If you watch the men, they barely had any downtime or vast periods of slacking off until the last day. But with the women, Bear's first perception of them was that they were too busy chatting instead of moving forward.
You know, it's 4 o'clock. It's going to get dark here in a couple of hours. And already, you know, there've been 15 minutes chat on the beach. They need to work hard, get moving.
And more slacking off.
2 p.m. Julie is still fishing, whilst the rest of the women are more interested in sunbathing and relaxing on the beach.
Oh, this is why we came here. This bay is the absolute dream, isn't it?
Beth and Lauren wake to discover none of the other women have done any work.
We stayed up, we cooked breakfast for everybody, we cooked supper for everybody, and then we needed a kind of a little bit of a break today, and because we've had a break, everybody else has had a fucking break, and nothing's happened.
They recently almost died, but they still are slacking off.
While the rest of the group toil away on the bed shelter, Jamie and Belinda decide to take the afternoon off.
And it's because no one really took charge.
From day one, the women have governed themselves in a leaderless community, trying to make group decisions.
What, was there not enough wood? Have you ran out of wood now?
We ran out of wood last night and everyone went
You're
to
joking.
There's no leader. Not one person rules the roost. We work collectively. So if, say, I want to go foraging, I don't have to be told to go foraging. I'm going to go foraging.
All the decisions we've made thus far have been made collaboratively. We've not needed to conform to a system where there's a leader.
Instead of everyone having a job to do, someone to fish, someone to collect water, someone to keep the fire alive, people to build shelter, no one took charge. And they didn't realize that they almost died twice. Leaders also handle conflicts.
And ensure people get along. Conflict will kill a group, which surprisingly was pretty well displayed in the first episode of The Men's Island, as it caused one of their very useful builders to leave. Remember, I did say the men had their struggles too.
The person who displayed the ability to lead was Lauren.
I will not let people see that I'm feeling just as weak as them, because I actually feel like some people need strength in other people to keep them going, and I'm determined to be that person.
Lauren was the one to kill the pigs, and once Lauren became the leader, things got a little better.
Now we are at the end of the show. The men made it on the island for 6 weeks, and the women sort of made it on the island for 6 weeks. I did, however, find it funny that both groups went right to gender stereotypes. The men were primarily focused on hunting for food, while the women were primarily focused on gathering. At the end of the 6 weeks, each team showed off their camps to Bear Grylls. The men's camp was very utilitarian, while the women's camp was very decorated and made over. One more thing, the women slept communally, while the men slept individually. So this show turned out to be a real win for feminism on breaking gender stereotypes. By the way, there were more examples on them conforming to stereotypes than the ones I gave. Another win for feminism is that Ruth England called season 1 of the show sexist because only men were allowed on that season. She said it portrayed the notion that women needed to be helped to survive. Well, seeing that the women almost died twice throughout the 6 weeks and almost had their team member Fran die in the first week, I don't see how Ruth England's notion that average women can survive without men is proven.
So many people watched that first series and said, women would have done much better. They would have multitasked. They wouldn't have had the ego.
So did the woman really survive this experience? Let's ask the host.
If I hadn't turned up today, and I turned up in 6 months, I bet these guys would be in pretty good shape. And I knew it. I knew the stereotype was wrong, But I knew they could nail it.
I guess we were watching a different show. But anyways, there wasn't a lot of drama on the men's island, obviously, but there were disagreements with 2 guys. You had Sam, a creative thinker, and Vic. People were mad at Sam because he didn't work as hard, unless he found something he was interested in.
Now released from wood duty, Sam sets off to check his nets.
I'm pretty positive.
Despite the group's hostility, Sam's convinced his nets will work.
I refuse pessimism to seep in.
Absolutely refuse
Optimism it is, then.
Optimism it is.
Nothing. Very predictable. It's a waste of energy, time, fuel, everything. Stop fanning around and start doing something worthwhile.
Vic is one of the best at finding food, and one day, Vic catches 6 fish. And he thinks Sam is wasting his time. But Sam doesn't listen to him, which pisses Vic off.
Vic?
Yo! Do you trust me? I would never trust a stranger.
Am I a stranger?
At first you were.
Okay.
It's taken me longer to get used to you than it has any of the other guys, because they sound a little bit like me. So unfortunately, I don't trust you.
Yeah. Interesting.
A creative idea like Sam's needs trial and error. Now, in a survival situation, you may not have that time. But unfortunately, when the group gets desperate for food, they help Sam.
Yes! Nowhere! There's a lot of whooping coming from those nets, people.
All I wanted was just a fish, one fish. How many fishes have we got?
20! Even though Vic saved the guys from hunger multiple times, listen to what he says.
Sam's determination's been amazing with them nets.
I'm really happy that you can see that.
Yes, I couldn't. I won't deny it, I couldn't see it at all. I just thought, well, you're a big city fanny. But the big city fanny's done good. Sam, farmer, my hat comes off to you, sir. Well done you for having the balls and the determination to fix them every time. Because that certainly weren't my cup of tea. At all.
For innovation to happen, you need both people. Sam, the creative thinker, and Vic, a hard worker that helps make that vision a reality. In my opinion, after watching the show, both groups had a hard time. But the women had to be rescued multiple times compared to the men who had some injuries, but none life-threatening. And if this was a real situation, the women wouldn't have made it past the 2nd week due to the mistakes they made. You also see women trying to be more independent instead of working together. But for society to survive, people have certain jobs that make the world go round. Engineers build, doctors heal, farmers, fishermen, and hunters supply food. Creative thinkers invent, so life gets easier as you go along. So, unless you plan to become an expert in all of these things, no one can really be independent, especially in a survival situation. We also need females. Now, it may not be to survive, but studies show that most children raised by a man lack emotional intelligence, while most children raised by a mother lack discipline and self-control. And well, if you made it here and you're not subscribed, click the button. I've created value to you, and I would love it if you show me that thanks by subscribing. I'm out.